Okay, call the meeting in order, and we'll start with the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
to offer technical ability to get us in.
We've got too much cane. A little bit.
All right, roll call minutes. Minutes of October 7th were distributed. Does anybody have any modifications, changes? Hearing none, I will move the minutes. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. All in favor, please say aye.
Hey,
Any opposed? Excellent. Thank you. Public comment, we have no public, we have no public on the screen, so we will continue to go. The housing, we refer to it as the affordable housing plan or the housing.
I would say now we've moved towards calling it a housing plan, even though it has the legally required components of an affordable housing plan.
Okay. Let's take us through it.
Okay, so to give you some history, in 2020, the town received a grant from the Department of Housing to complete the 2021 to 2026 Affordable Housing Plan. I copied you a section of the actions of the next page 33, just to kind of run through some of the things we've done if you would like to. We got the grant, we completed the plan in July of 2021, and the task was to establish a housing task force amongst staff. As we evolved with the plan, we thought it made more sense rather than having town staff work on this plan. The Board of Selectmen ended up adopting or appointing an ad hoc committee. That committee has worked on the task, and it's really scary how quickly 5 years goes. We're at year 4, and our legal requirement is to update and revisit the plan. Tyke Consulting, who was our initial planning consultant for this, we've asked them to give us a quote, and that is in the amount of $12,000 to do the mandatory update. So I'm calling it more of an update because unfortunately we get laws that have plans for 5 years, and by the time you write the plan and you start working on the plan, you don't have as much time to implement the plan and you're rewriting the plan. So the Planning Commission, we did talk about bringing this out to bid, but at this point, since it's so new, we thought it was more of an update, and it made sense to go with the same consultant, since a new consultant would want to start from scratch, go through, reformat it, and start from the beginning. I can give you, and I have lots of detail, or I could keep it short, as to some of the things that we've done since the plan was implemented. The Planning Commission and a member of the Zoning Commission, and a member of the Borough of Fenwick. I know that sounds a little strange, but the borough, after we adopted our plan, came to us and said, can we join you? Because we're also required to have an
every
affordable house.
municipality has to have a housing plan, affordable housing.
So that was established in August of 2014. We spent a lot of time with education, from myself, the building official, CHAFA, developers, attorneys, the Municipal Redevelopment Authority, Desegregate Connecticut, Hope Partnership. That, I mean, I can go on and on and on, just the education portion of it. And what we've done since then, and it's been a little bit, not just the housing task force, if we go through our goals, and it did tweak a little bit, but we ended up, one of the things was to promote accessory dwelling units. Since the adoption, the zoning commission adopted regulations to allow for detached accessory dwelling units, for detached mother-in-law apartment. It's interesting because since that was adopted, we've had 10 new detached ADUs in Old Saybrook. We've always had ADUs, we call them accessory apartments. But since the adoption of those changes, about 20 new ones have gone on the books. Another thing that the zoning commission did was they modified their mixed-use housing regulations. So in the B1 district, pretty much Main Street, they had created regulations to use underutilized space above existing storefronts or behind them to have apartments. Kind of the thought was you could have people work where they live, get more feet on the street. And that was another regulation that they changed. We've continued to promote these dwelling units, both of them. We've gone and had educational articles. We've talked about working on a flyer, but then we kind of steered a little bit off because we had things that we could really do that would make more of an impact. The Board of Selectmen adopted an opt-in to participate in the Connecticut Municipal Redevelopment Authority with a memorandum of understanding. And this has to do with developing housing within a half a mile of transit, not just affordable. And we're working and coordinating with MRTA. The hope is that at some point, maybe that would help us to get funding, whether it's for planning or implementation. The mixed use apartment regulations, even though we made changes to them, unfortunately, we found, and the zoning commission, I think, was a little disappointed that we only had a handful of property owners take advantage of it. So following that, I had a meeting with RiverCog, and we invited Ben Lovejoy of Department of Housing. We started talking about flyers. And the next thing you know, I was working on a grant application to the Department of Housing, where we were just awarded $95,518.96 without a match to do a feasibility analysis of the B1 district. And that includes looking at soils and parking, as well as the regulation, and doing an analysis, which we're kicking off and trying to get this done as soon as possible. We just got that money, I think, on October 6th. So we hope to get that study done within a year.
That was money that, first of all, Chris applied for, and the original amount was a little less than that, and then we wanted to expand it towards the train station. It was mostly
It was all B1, and then we asked for, when we were awarded the grant, we met with the Department of Housing, Carl and I, and Megan Juflis from RiverCog. They're gonna be our community partner, and they're gonna take care of the public participation portion. And I said, wow, we kind of forgot that triangle, the Stage Road, North Main Street. We really should have incorporated that. And the Department of Housing said, well, why don't we amend it? So we revised the application, and
we've got more money. And the beauty of the grant is there's no match, and it is not a reimbursable grant. So the money's in our account, and that's why the Board of Finance didn't act on it. It's not local taxpayer dollars. That's always treated non-reimbursable grant. Reimbursable grants, we have to go to the taxpayers because we're using their money first prior to getting reimbursement. Whereas when we get this type of grant, I say, let's just go for it. And there was no match. Really, really neat grant. Purpose, as Chris, I don't know if you were going to continue on that or not.
And you
I
can
think,
jump in.
no, you know more about it than I do, but to, look at parking, look at soils in this area, to see what could support more housing downtown, whether it's like Chris said, either above or behind. And then talk to the property owners about opportunities they might have. And then perhaps the town, at that point, spotting an opportunity, could work with the Connecticut Municipal Redevelopment Agency, maybe to seek a grant. Maybe that would involve a match, I don't know, with town funding. But the idea is to look at why we don't have a little bit more housing downtown. And it's I think it's the type of grant that you'd never be able to do this work. You'd never be able to go to a town meeting and say, we want to do some soils testing and a parking analysis downtown. I think people would look at you sideways, to be honest with you. But it was a really proactive grant that Chris went out and got. And I want to give her some credit for that.
So, we've been working on a lot of these items and the housing task force, but obviously the Board of Selectmen, it's not as though one group, we're all doing this, together. Obviously, there was not any thought when we started this in 2020, writing the plan, that we would be jumping into grants, but there was some action items, find land, pursue partnerships. And we are getting partnerships, obviously, with MRDA, the Department of Housing. I'm sorry, they changed. I
It
apologize.
used to be the Municipal Redevelopment Agency, but they didn't like people calling it MRDA. So they went to CMDA, the Connecticut Municipal Development.
Thank you. It slipped because we started from the beginning. So I think when the initial committee looked at the goals and the actions, it was, let's go through, let's find property, let's start developing. But now that we have a housing task force, it's really not that easy. And the B1, B2 project that we're working on right now, one of the things is, even though we have regulations in place, a lot of other municipalities have sewers. They have the whole town has public water. We have areas without public water. We have areas without fire protection. So it's trying to work with what we have to achieve more housing and get more housing. But the obstacles, we don't want to put more housing, affordable or not affordable, in a flood zone where people are going to move there and flood out. So, we have to balance, and Old Saybrook is beautiful and unique with the environmental resources, the wetlands, the river, and it's a challenge to find appropriate places for housing that we can actually make work, unlike, larger municipalities where they've got flat land, not as many environmental resources. And it's easier, and developers like, well, I need 8 acres of flat developable land and I'll come to your town. And I'm like, well, just not that easy. So I think the housing task force is a group of commission members, really representatives of planning and zoning. I think that they're learning that, and we've adapted and have changed some of the actions because we're just not there yet. But I think we're moving at a pretty fast pace.
And also, you're gonna have a special session in November, is what I hear at the legislature. Matt probably knows something about that. And they are going to address that HB 5002, and probably, I think the hope is to pass something out of that. So that will be, presumably, there will be a state law that allows certain types of actions in municipalities that might work with what we are trying to do. I'm hopeful.
So we're hoping. So the request tonight is to update our housing plan, not just affordable housing. And obviously, we're going to keep an eye on what's going to go with this special session. We're not going to jump in and redo everything all at once, but the housing task force right now, they're actually working on, they have subcommittees of 2. They're going through each section And we're gonna work on looking at the plan right now and getting some ideas after the time we've spent and what we've learned to see, okay, does this make sense? Do some of these goals make sense? What do we need to change? What can we really achieve in the best way to do it?
Okay, are there questions for Chris?
I was just curious, the original plan, which you just reviewed right before the meeting, how much did that cost to do and how much did we get in the grant, do you remember?
I believe the original was 15,000.
The grant,
So we applied for a DOH grant to write this plan.
50,000.
It was 15.
the grant was 50,
grant was
right, I think
50.
the plan was 20 or 25.
It might have been more, I don't remember.
Yeah, wasn't much more than that though. I think it was about 25, it could have been 30, but
Just curious, so 12,000 sounded, reasonable to me as far as, for the update. What's like the timing? I mean, as you said, there might be a special session, things might change a little, like, can we wait until that's over before,
Well,
before you, start?
Obviously, we're
Having
not
that.
gonna jump in and complete it before the special
Yeah.
session. We're paying attention and we want to see what's gonna happen and not, waste money updating something to find out it's obsolete or there's something missing. So the thought is we would start looking at what we have, start working on things we've done. Obviously, it is a plan update, and then see what's gonna come out of that special session. And with what we have and what we need to address, move on from there. So July 2026 would be the ultimate goal, but at the same time, it doesn't make sense to have a required update to a plan, knowing, we may need to tweak it depending on the session. But I don't really see any reason why we shouldn't continue to work on it and have the housing task force look at what they've done and what they think should be done a little bit different.
George?
Right, so I don't know anything about the special session, but is the gist that it's going to either loosen up the requirement or strengthen the requirement in terms of what we need to meet?
I don't think anybody knows. They haven't released any information.
That's the
They're
issue.
writing it all in secret.
No, but I mean, right now, are there particular deadlines or? Not like you have to meet X percentage, like.
But in eight, Chris knows this way better than I, again, 830G has targets for each town that I think have been deemed to be aspirational, but nothing more than that.
So 830G, a lot of towns are afraid of 830G. We've called it friendly 830G. And 830G says that if a town doesn't have 10% of its housing stock deed restricted as affordable, then a developer can come into a business zone and say, instead of a shopping center, I'm going to build high-rise apartments. And you take the zoning regulations and all our regulations, you put them to the side, and the only way you can deny that type of an application is for public health or safety. The zoning commission, since our first 830G, which was in 1999, has really recognized, and I think the town overall, that there is a need for more housing, not just affordable housing. People move away, they can't find somewhere to live when they move back, as well as people who don't live here, who work here, people who want to move here. So the 10%, as Carl was saying, it's really not achievable, because you have to take our existing housing stock and make 10%. So unless all the developments that came in were 100% affordable, you're just slowly kind of chipping away. You're adding more units with an affordable component, but at the same time, you're adding more at-rate units, and apartments or an accessory dwelling unit, for example, is not necessarily deed restricted affordable. And that was one of the thoughts, in this plan. But you're creating options where if you want to build an apartment in your house or in your backyard, whether it's a family member someone who lives here for extra, extra money, someone who works here. It doesn't necessarily have to be deed restricted to increase the housing stock. So the 10% initially is like, well, the goal, if you hit that 10%, is that you're exempt from the affordable housing requirements, and then the zoning regulations are in place. But that's also a little bit unrealistic, because you look at the Saybrook Station apartments, there's 186 units, 38 are deed restricted, affordable, and we're almost 10 years into it.
Deed
And
restricted for 30 years.
right,
So in 20 years, they go up, so if our number goes down, it's like trying to bail a boat.
so it's really not, I guess we really haven't looked at it as a goal, because the housing developments that we've had through 830G, so the apartments on Lynn Street, 45 Ferry Road, we're getting nice developments that serve for alternatives to a single family home. Some of them do have that affordable component, but I think 18 years ago was our first 830G at 45 Ferry Road. There really weren't apartments. There weren't townhouses. We didn't have that. Now you have an option, say you want to downsize your house, maybe you're going to move into an apartment instead of senior living. So that's, I think, how we're looking at it, not just the affordable component, that there's an overall need for different housing types. Because what we've learned as a housing task force, or what they've learned as when Sue Consoli came here from Youth and Family Services, how many people who've lived in town their whole life can't afford their medication because they're paying their flood insurance and their taxes, and they can't find anything smaller to move to, and they don't necessarily want to live in their 3,500 square foot house as an empty nester. So the 10%, I know it's kind of the goal, but it's really, I don't think the town's looked at it as a goal. I mean, it's been a problem for years that we don't have enough housing types. So it's looking to diversify what we have. And that's why the housing task force said, can we just call this a housing plan? Because everybody's, affordable housing. They think it's subsidized. They think there's, people are coming with their Section 8 vouchers, and that's not really what it is.
I wanted to kind of emphasize that. I don't know, and I was going to send this to you and Carl. Have you guys seen the Healthy Data Aging Report? This just came out recently from the state, and 45% of both Saybrook, I'm sure you guys would be surprised, are over the age of 60. And I mean, all the surrounding towns, 33%, 30%. So just like you said, it's not just affordable, it's the right housing.
Well, the other interesting thing, working with the permitting part of like the detached ADUs, as I had someone came in, he was so excited. He's like, this is great. He's like, we can put my mother-in-law in a 1-story unit in the backyard. He's like, can I have 2? I'm like, 2? We don't allow 2. He's like, well, I have on the other side of my family, my other mother-in-law, and rather than going to an assisted living where they're paying $8,000-$10,000 a month, these folks can sell their homes, downsize, be close to family or friends, and they can stay in this community. So there's a lot to it.
The takeaway there is someone was excited to house their mother-in-law near them.
I know.
Good point.
Excuse me.
Is there an average retail for rental that's an AUD? And what is the level of disposable income that you have to qualify for these? Is there any average level of that?
So what's the rent, or how do you qualify? Is that, how is that based?
I'm looking at the buildings on Lynn Street, and I was told, I know a few people that live there, and I was told that the rent for an affordable unit was over $3,000.
So,
Now, to me, I don't think it's that high.
mm-mm.
No, that makes me happy.
They're
Okay.
high.
Well,
You're correct that they're a lot higher than you would associate with an affordable unit. Because it has to do with median income.
So there's a complicated formula and it really depends on, but the issue is, it's what, 125, there's the state and the, area meeting, so it's 125,000 and 140, I'm giving kind of ballpark numbers. And then you take the units are 80% of that, 60% of that, 40% of that, and when you get a lot of 60s and 80s, you're not really, it's affordable housing compared to the median income, but affordable doesn't necessarily mean affordable that the average minimum wage worker is going to be able to move in. It was, the zoning commission went through, I think it was 2 or 3 years ago, we did an audit of all the affordable units in town. So we took random samples just to see, because who watches this? Like, what's to say someone moves out and they move someone in for an average, a normal rent. So there were some units in town. There was one I thought was kind of interesting. It was a 2-bedroom and the folks living there were making $45,000 a year. That one kind of threw me off. There were other people making $70,000 a year. So it depends on when your lease is created, the needs, and there's also in this complicated formula, utility allowances, there's some caps, and then COVID, they also had an additional calculation during COVID that impacted the affordability. It's really complicated, but it's not 3,000 a month. Not to say they're not units that are at rate at 3,000 a month in this town, but.
Thank you.
It's close though. I mean, if you do a back of the envelope at 120,000, 80% is 96,000, and you're supposed to pay no more than 30% of your income in rent. So 30% of 96,000 is 27, over 30,000. So you're very close on just by state definition of affordable, being able to charge $3,000 for rent.
So, you said nobody keeps track of it. So I sign up for an affordable apartment. I'm just starting out in life. I'm making 50,000 a year. 10 years from now, I'm making 150,000 a year. Do you have to submit
Well,
income requirements every year?
Yeah.
Is there
So
somebody watching this?
it depends. So that's why the zoning commission did the audit, because it's the town's responsibility to make sure these units are rented as affordable. But if you talk to a lot of the towns, how many town planners and town officials have gone out and said, hi, can you show me your calculations? There are management companies that do this, but we thought it would be, good to check in. We found there were some minor discrepancies, and one of the development owners went through and said, okay, here's your $25 that I made a mistake. And they actually did pay the folks back. But the way that it works is when you do your lease renewal, you have to show that you're making a qualifying income. If you're not making that qualifying income, it doesn't mean that you get thrown out and evicted out of your home. In an apartment situation, you're then put into the next available unit. So if it's a 2-bedroom, kind of a like for like, and that unit, when that opens up, becomes the affordable unit. So it's very, very complicated. And here's,
Right. A lot of reporting, a lot of complication, which in the long run makes less affordable housing.
but on the other side of it, I thought this was interesting. What I've learned is some of the ownership units. So for the most part, it's not just apartments. You can have affordable housing developments that you can buy, like you can buy your unit. So we have several in town. But one of the folks that I know who does housing kind of audits and manages a number of these was telling me a story that someone went in, they bought a unit at an affordable rate and things got good. And they went through and they were making more money. Usually you're in a house for 30 years. Well, they ended up They had done a number of renovations to the house. They did all kinds of things. I think they put like 50,000 into the house or the condo unit, whatever it was. They go through, they call their local real estate agent. And they said, look, I got all the counters, I got all these great things. I put 50,000 into it. And the bottom line is, if you're still under the deed restricted period, it doesn't matter that they put that 50,000 into that unit. They had to go back, do the formula and sell it at the affordable rate so that at the next person who came in would go through. They said they didn't know that, but and I mean, I kind of get if you've ever been to a closing, they hand you a piece of paper, this is this. At the time, you really don't think about it. So they did sell the unit at the affordable rate at the time with $50,000 of improvements that they couldn't, make a profit on.
Okay, other
Interesting.
questions? Okay, so we have a proposal. I didn't print. Do you have a copy of the resolution? So the motion that requested is to make an appropriation in the amount of $12,000 from the capital non-recurring fund 3350 for the purpose of updating the town's affordable housing plan. Further, to move this motion to town meeting and make that motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any other discussion? George?
Quick question, if we're going to basically change the word, take affordable out of the term, we might do it here.
Well, I'll jump in and say that there's what we do, and then there's what the state does. And the state has a requirement for an affordable housing plan from each town. So what we present to the state is going to say affordable housing. What we need is a housing diversity plan, which is what Chris is talking about. So under the rubric of affordable housing, we're going to do this. Okay. Well,
How long will it take to, will this consultant be on board and putting this together?
Well, we need to see what's going to happen with this session, if it happens, when it happens. I mean, I think we can do it in less than a year unless there's some kind of a curveball with the session, but we really need to kind of start moving forward to meet the July goal, but be cautious and watch what's going on. So I would say we'd have it done by, I'm going to take that back. We'll have it done by July. That would be the.
That's no guarantee that the next session of the legislature will change it again.
But then we'll wait in 5 years, we'll deal with that.
Yeah. We, unless they tell us we have to do it right away.
all right, moved and seconded. Any,
Just a
Yeah.
tangential question, are we using the same consultant to do the DOH grant, or are we gonna go through a procurement process for the DOH studies?
So the DOH studies were using the folks who did the Thrive Plan, WSP, because they actually did some analysis of Old Saybrook for parking. We did all the site walks and everything, and
Builds off of that.
And Jeff Jacobson's office would do all the soils information. So the WSP kind of Jacobson team made the most sense because they've walked the area, they've looked at the train station, and the goal is to start implementing these tasks. And we just kind of jumped right in. So
Thank you.
we're starting this month.
okay, others? Okay, take a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Can I
Yes,
have a
guys.
copy of Chris?
Sure, you can pass that on to Jerry.
Okay, thanks.
We are on to the selectmen's report.
Great, early voting is going well. We finished day 2.
Thank you.
By the way, Chris Costa just had her 25th anniversary of working in the town last Thursday. So we had a little party for her in town hall last Friday, and it was well attended because Chris is well respected and well liked in town hall, and she's very knowledgeable throughout the state with all these issues. We're lucky to have her. So anyway, I just wanted to mention that to the Board of Finance too.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Okay.
so there's enough cake for you too.
Yeah, Brad
Lots
did-
of cake
Brad
in
didn't
the
show.
past.
Even though we had, anyway, yeah, I just saw Pat Pendergrast going out of town hall when I was coming in, so early voting has gone well for 2 days. They're syncing up well and getting their numbers to match. I guess there's something with that. And I voted yesterday. Why wouldn't I? It's right across the halls. It's pretty darn easy.
And then you voted today.
Yeah, every day, Bruce. Good news, this is gonna be quick, obviously. Acton Public Library, we received a large grant. They are, yeah, just so everybody knows, they're $125,000 short of their fundraising goal of $5.1 million. $2 million grant, the town's put in 750,000. They've privately raised with the Tucker Fund plus some other donations, about 2 million. They're doing this fundraiser with the truck now. So they're very close, and they cannot go to the bond commission unless they have the money in hand. They're private donations. So we're really hoping that this truck raffle will put them over quickly, so that, and of course, the town could step in and make that go away. But they went through all the trouble of forming a 501c3 foundation.
There's a lot of trouble.
Yeah, and it's happened, it's done. And that is a fundraising arm of the library. So I'm really hopeful that they can make that happen by the end of the year. We can get on a bond agenda at the state level. They can give the architects a go. We can be in design in 26 and maybe doing construction in 26, 27. Okay, so they are very close, so it's been really good. This board and town meeting authorized 4 more big belly, those solar compacting trash machines. And I had a meeting with Jennifer Donahue. Were you in that meeting? No. Jennifer Donahue and Bill Claffey and Ray Allen to discuss where to deploy them to be most effective, and to reduce perhaps our bill with all waste so that we're picking up less of the green and blue bins, and then our guys are picking up the big belly trash because it's a lot less frequent because it's compacting. And Bill is now using, I hope he should be, the machines let you know when they're full. So you shouldn't, like right now with these blue garbage bins out there, the guys empty the garbage Monday and Friday. Well, this should be when they get notification that it needs to be. So it might be once every 2 or 3 weeks. So there should be some efficiencies built in to deploying these in certain locations. And lastly, it's been, I don't know if I reported on this last time, I think I did. The fire marshal resigned, Pete Terenzi, yeah. So we now have a deputy that is getting a lot of work done. And I think, honestly, it's, our building official has been pleasantly surprised in working with him. And a lot of the folks in town I've had a couple discussions with vendors and people who are doing some construction, and just really no problem staying afloat right now with a temporary guy. That doesn't mean we don't need a full-time fire marshal. And tomorrow we are doing second interviews with 2 fire marshal candidates. We already had initial interviews. Tomorrow we're actually going to be doing a bit of almost like an assessment center where we are going to have them go into a kitchen, fireman's field. We're going to fireman's field. They're
Not
going,
supposed to talk about the test.
what?
Not supposed to talk about what's on the test, right?
Oh, no, they know.
Oh, they do know, okay.
Yeah, they
I
know,
just-
they know. They do know.
I-
They're gonna go into a kitchen.
Okay.
They're gonna do like a restaurant inspection, and then they have a charred vehicle over there. So cause and origin of a fire, and then 2 reports. So, no, I made them aware.
Oh, okay. I'm just-
Uh,
I'm-
because these are professional people who've been in the industry
Mhm.
for 25, 30 years. We don't need to treat them like children either.
No, I
Um,
kind of get the top
so-
secret memos.
no. Chris will be there, or a few of us will be there. So, anyway, so I'm hopeful that after tomorrow or by Thursday, we'll have an offer out to a new fire marshal. And, it changes positive. That's it. That's what, I'll leave it at that. Short and simple, sweet.
Hate to ask the crosswalk question, but I'll ask the crosswalk question.
It's remarkable. I thought they were gonna start today. I did notify them on Monday. Said they were gonna start on Monday, but then they said, oh, it looks like rain. And when they said that, I emailed them and I said, remember to give 48 hours notice to the police for traffic control. I think you're gonna see activity on Main Street this week, tomorrow, Thursday or Friday.
Yeah, I saw this morning as I
I
was
know.
driving and I saw the cones, I
Me
thought,
too,
yes.
me too.
no.
That's what I thought too. But that is not the case. But I think you're gonna see it this week. They're gonna be mobilizing this week. They are hoping to have them done, all three of them done by Thanksgiving.
Other questions for Carl?
One more thing I'll talk about it on the Dock and Dine property. I do think we have an agreement on terms. So I today gave my attorney instructions to draft a clean version of what would be a lease agreement and a purchase and sale. Once we initially, or once we kick off the process to a vote, I want those documents, obviously, they'll be available, library, town clerk, online. I want people, the whole point is for people to see these documents and be able to vote accordingly. There will be another public hearing. You have to put signs up at the pavilion when the time comes. We have to publish twice. It's a whole process prior to a referendum. But I think we're there. And
Great, congratulations.
well,
I know, too early.
right, it is too early. But look, I was at an event greeting the chief of police last week. And someone I know who's a friend of mine came up to me, very much opposed to it. And I said, that's okay.
Mhm.
Let's vote.
Mhm.
We'll put it to a vote. It's an idea. If people don't support it, they don't support it. If they do, then they do. So.
Okay, anything else?
I know I'm not the first. Do you want an update on the Chucker Chapman project? I don't know if that's, okay,
Not tonight.
all right.
Eric, are you all set?
Like the way he snapped.
You all set?
Definitely.
Yeah, for once, you asked a question about crosswalks and not me.
I know. I knew you're on mute. I didn't want you to. All right, we'll keep going. So the next item is recognition of board members' service to town. And I would have to say, after years and years and years of experience, both paid and volunteer, one thing that I have found is we don't enough say thank you to the people who spend their time working, particularly as volunteers. And the way in which the Board of Finance works ordinarily is, unfortunately, there's an election, and right after the election is the new board. And so sometimes you don't get a chance to say goodbye. However, this year, we're lucky. We have the opportunity with John and Brad, who have given great service to the town, to be able to say thank you to them publicly and to actually have it be a part of the minutes. So I have two resolutions, one thanking Brad, one thanking John. I'll read the first resolution thanking Brad. I'm sad that he is unable to come in. He did call me earlier today. He's unfortunately in Massachusetts and wasn't able to make the meeting. But in recognition of Brad Thorpe's 19 years of volunteer service to the town of Old Saybrook, 11 serving on the Board of Education and 8 years as a member of the Board of Finance, the Board of Finance would like to express its deep appreciation and thanks. And we wish him Godspeed for his future endeavors. So that's the motion. Is there a second?
Second,
Second by John. We do have a chance for board member comments following this. If anybody would like to say anything toward the motion now, that's fine. Otherwise, we'll have comments later.
I'll just say, I've been involved myself for 25 years now, so I go way back with Brad, and Brad has always been a friend and ally in town government, and I believe always has put the best interests of the town at wherever he served, certainly on the Board of Ed and certainly on the Board of Finance. He's been very good to me, but he's been, like you say, Bruce, it's nice to recognize, because Brad is not, unlike John, gonna run again in 2 years. But, and we'll get to that in a second, John.
I could
But,
have a bad dream.
Yeah, I'm sorry to see Brad go, but I think Brad is moving on to different things in his life. So I'm want to congratulate him and thank you for reading that into the record.
And I simply want to say that even though I've owned a car for over 50 years, I know nothing about cars. So whenever we would have a Board of Finance meeting and we'd be discussing engines, cars, boats, I always went with Brad. He was whatever he said always made sense to me because I certainly knew nothing about it. So I very much appreciate that.
Yeah, I worked with Brad for 9-10 years, and I always enjoyed talking to him. We never agreed on much, but that didn't matter. Nothing ever was personal, and he's a hard worker and a good thinker. So I appreciate it.
All right, we'll take a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Hi.
Any opposed? Second resolution thanking John O'Brien. In recognition of John O'Brien's 18 years of volunteer service to the town of Old Saybrook as a member of the Board of Finance. The Board of Finance would like to express its deep appreciation and thanks. We wish you Godspeed for your future and future endeavors. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any comments, people?
Go ahead. I've been here for 8 years and I'm gonna miss you. Even when we disagree, you joke around and you don't take it personal.
No.
I
Can't afford to.
I've enjoyed working with you,
Thank you.
and I bump into you around town all the
All the time.
time.
So I consider John a friend after all these years together, and John is, and I think you know this, John, you're a man of your word, and John's a handshake guy, looks you in the eye and tells you the truth. And I feel like in some respects, and this is not intended to anyone on this board, but it's a little bit of you're a little bit of a dying breed, kind of in terms of.
That's true in more ways than one.
No, but just in terms of the way you operate, and it's old school, but it's with integrity. And I've always respected that, John. You know that from the first time you resigned from the Board of Finance. And I didn't last time. I gave John a bottle of Irish whiskey, which he probably still hasn't opened, but
No, it's gone. I'm hoping I get at least a nip.
I'm glad it's gone. But I've been over to John's house and had a drink with him here and there, and I intend to do that again soon,
Good.
I hope. But I'll miss you, John. And thank you for all your years of service to the town. Truly, from the bottom of my heart, working with you on Board of Finance, and then now in this role for the last 14 years, it has been a pleasure dealing with someone trustworthy and smart and detail oriented and all the good things that you would expect from a citizen volunteer. Deeply appreciated. I think everyone here is probably feels the same way, and we'll miss you, and look forward to seeing you soon around town.
Okay, I'm gonna be working on my campaign as soon as I.
2 years off and then you're back.
Gotta take a
He's
rest.
gotta get in that 20 for the pension.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
Brad, it's great to see you. Thanks a lot. I'm sorry that I had not seen that you had shown up, but
Shows up for the good part.
good to have you. I don't know whether you were able to hear the nice things we said about you, but
Yes, I did. Thank you very much, all of you.
you're very welcome. Okay, so we need to vote on.
Yes.
So all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Bye.
Any opposed? Wonderful. We're on to public comment. Now that I have moved Brad out of the attendees, we are, have no public there, no public here. So comments from the chair.
Oh, well, can I say one more thing?
Yes, sir. You're a member of the public.
Our chairman is moving. Jeez, I meant to. I've said this to Bruce privately in my office. He's done a great job chairing this committee, okay? And I'll say it publicly now. I mean, I think Bruce has been involved in government, so you know, it's been great having discussions with you because you know government. And I've said that to you. And so I think this board has been very fortunate for the last 4 years to have a chairman who knows how to run a meeting, you run it fairly, and that's what you ask for from a chairman, is to run a fair meeting. But you can inject your opinions as you see fit, but you listen to everybody, you gave everybody an opportunity, didn't shut anybody down, and that is one of the goals that I think we all have in this town, is for civility and discussion. And there's never been anybody shouting over anybody at any of these meetings, and I don't think any of our other meetings in this town. So I think the goal is to keep it like that. And it takes chairmen like Bruce, chairpersons like Bruce, to just inject that atmosphere in the meeting. So thank you for what you've done for the last 4 years and what you continue to do.
Thank you.
I agree, you're 100% right.
My turn. Comments from the chair. So I'd like to start by saying thank you to the board members. Really picking up on what Carl said. It's been a great experience being a member of the board, being chair of this board, and the fact of the matter is, I think we have worked very well together. And I think that we don't always agree, and that's okay to not always agree, as long as you do listen and understand what the other person's position is. And I think that we have done that at least while I was here. Also want to thank Carl and Leanne. You guys are the backbone of what we do here, without a doubt. And it is highly professional working with both of you. It really is quite, you know, when I talk to people from other towns about, and you even read in the newspaper about what happens in other towns, recognizing how well Old Saybrook is run, how well our finances are organized, all of that is really remarkable. And Matt, thank you so much for coming and being part of this evening's event. You've been a great sounding board to me on many occasions, and you too are moving on to other things, which it'll be interesting to see where it all ends up on your meteoric rise through the world of state government. And finally, I'd like to thank Jerry. Jerry has always been there. She is a hard worker. She is got us organized every other week, moving this committee forward. Has been a great help to me, and I very much appreciate it. And once again, I think serves in a role where people often overlook it or don't recognize it. And I want to make sure that you are recognized and a major part of how we do our work here. And thank you very much for that.
Definitely agree with that.
So with that, we have the great opportunity to have as much cake as we possibly can. So I'll take a motion to adjourn, and then we will adjourn to some lemonade and cake. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Okay.
Second.
Favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, folks on the phone and video. Sorry we miss you. We'll save a piece of cake.
No
Amazing.
thanks for you.
Thank you very much. We are adjourned.